This is Build and Run. This is a real VR podcast for Unity developers. And we are here at NYC VR University. This is a community in New York where we learn VR and AR. And without any further ado.
All right, here we go. So I'm James Andrew. I'm technical director at UVisit. So I do 360 video all day, every day right now. When I'm not working on my game zone, I actually have some people working on a VR game that we're getting ready to release. While I'm at work doing 360 video, they're working on the game. It works out really well. And so what I want to do right now is, I mean, none of this existed at 4:30 p.m. I just put it together and I left it 60 over here. So I just want to look at some of the main topics here that are involved in the 360 video. So I want to talk about the anatomy of a 360 video, some of the essential pieces, and some primary considerations in creating 360 video. So if you're going to create 360 video, the essential pieces are, at least in Unity, which is what we're talking about right now, and I really don't advise doing anything other than Unity unless you have a very good reason to do that, and you'll know it when you do. But if you just get a copy of Unity 5, it's free right now, personal edition, you just get it. You need a VR device. Cardboards are easy to come by, but get a Gear VR. I mean, they're so much better. Just the number one thing that I develop for right now is the Gear VR. Its portability is great. And for video, actually, the Gear VR is better even, well, it's better than the Oculus DK2. It's not necessarily better than the latest release Oculus Rift, but just in terms of screen resolution, it's superior to the Oculus Rift DK2. And in fact, most people don't realize is that mobile devices are actually better at decoding and displaying video than PCs are in general because they have dedicated chips on them. So a Note 5 or Note 6, Note 5 or a S6, it will handle the decoding, which is one of the most process-intensive portions of 360 video, much, much better than, you have to do a lot of work on Windows to get it to work that well. You need a suitable video capture device. This little thing right here is an excellent way, the Ricoh Theta S. You make sure you get the S if you see it on Newegg or something, not the Ricoh Theta. The Ricoh Theta S is much better. It's just transitioned into what I would call usable status. Like it's an awesome device. I mean, we're not going to use it at UVisit to put professional content out because when you put the video in VR, it's still kind of pixelated, etc. However, it's absolutely good enough. I can pass around later. I'll show you a little bit of something I did. I had someone, I go snowboarding a lot, and I had someone film me with the Theta S going off a jump snowboarding. I put it in my VR headset. And it's pretty cool. I mean, it's 1,000 times cooler than nothing at all, and it's like $300. Actually, right around now, Nikon is releasing one that's much, I think, significantly superior to this. It's on their page. You can find it somehow. If you look up Nikon 360, they're releasing one, this little cube that shoots 4K. It's like much better, higher resolution, I think higher frame rate. But this is enough to get going. And then also in Unity, you are not able to, right out of the box, play video at the level that you need to play video for VR. You need to use a third-party component, either making your own if you are a real hardcore developer, or I'll show you one that you can get off the asset store that's actually really good to get going. So yeah, this thing is awesome. Has anyone ever played with one? How many people have used one of these? So what you've got here is just got two lenses on either side that both of them capture a little bit more than 180 degrees, and internally it gives you that full spherical capture. This plugin, this is a great place to start. $55, and this will work on Android, on iOS, and they also have beta support now for PC. And we don't care about Mac for VR officially right now. If you have a Mac, don't use it for VR, or put Boot Camp on it and put Windows on it. It's just way simpler. It's for so many reasons right now. So this thing is great because what you really need to do is once you've captured something, you need to play that back in Unity. And I'm going to show just some of the pieces on this. A lot of this is going to get some questions ready because I don't have 25 minutes worth of stuff to talk about here. I'm just going to give you the basics and then ask me some questions, so be thinking of them. So anatomy of a 360 video. Video is nothing more than a whole bunch of pictures played one after another. And when you start developing for 360 video, that becomes really apparent, and the mystery is taken out of what video is. It's just pictures, 30 or 60 displayed per second, one after the other. And so in Unity, if anyone's ever developed in Unity at at all, one of the first things you know is that a picture in Unity is worked with as a texture. So you make things, shapes in Unity a lot of times, and you will put these textures onto them. These textures are images. Video is really nothing more than that. It's just a whole bunch of these images played one after another. Now, 360 video is video which has been these two important words to know about in 360 video, that is stitched and projected. How many people know what both those terms mean? So if I ask you, you would know. Who wants to give a definition of stitching? Well, right there, you're right. What's stitching?
Stitching is putting several cameras together, overcoming the parallax errors that come from cameras essentially looking in two different directions and then being brought together, usually in a program like AutoPanel Video Pro or Video Stitch.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's great about the Ricoh Theta is that it does this for you. It handles this for you. Usually when you're creating 360 video, actually always, because there really is no good solution that uses a single lens to capture all 360-degree video. The best you can get is a really wide fisheye. And so at minimum, when you're capturing 360 video, really what you're doing is you're capturing more than one video. Sometimes at UVisit, I'll pass around a video that we've shot recently which is stereoscopic 3D, 60 frames per second. We used 14 cameras shooting all at once, then had to stitch them together. At that time, it took about, I don't even want to tell you how much time it took to stitch together manually. It took about a month per minute. It was something like that. It was a lot. I mean, we were learning a lot at the time, but 14 cameras together. Now, that was about a year ago. A year later, we got this little guy right here. It's not stereo, it's not 60 frames per second, but you don't have to do any of that. So that's a big, big win for us. So then there's something else called projection. Anyone know what projection is? Projection of video? Anyone want to try?
I'll try. So it's instead of putting it on a flat surface like a screen, maybe you would do it like on a circle or a sphere inside of Unity, and maybe like the video itself would be like a texture around that.
That's definitely a big part of. That's a big part of it. Absolutely. When you capture video that is spherical, what you really need to do is first you need to project it onto something that is flat. It's kind of like if you take a globe and you unwrap a globe, you get a map, and you'll see there's a lot of techniques that are out there for unwrapping a globe into a map. There's different terms you'll know, like you'll hear the term equirectangular projection a lot. That's the standard projection. It's the way of taking something that's 360 and flattening it out, because textures, images, are inherently flat things. And so you've got to get your video onto something flat before you can wrap it around something spherical so you can see it in VR. And I'll show that. Like I said, it's usually shot with multiple cameras. Projection refers to how the spherical image is mapped to a rectangular plane. So this, that's me going off a snowboarding jump, and that's this guy who I just said, could you hold this and film me going off the jump? He's like, no problem. So this is actually the raw video that comes out of a Ricoh Theta. And if you look at the Ricoh Theta, it kind of makes sense. You see you got a lens right here and a lens right here, and that's what each lens sees. It's nothing, it's really, really simple, but by itself, that's not like super cool. I mean, I posted that to Instagram as is, as a video. It was kind of cool. You're like, what is this? But when you get this off the Theta, you can't bring that into Unity. I tried like, well, maybe that's not true. You could figure out a way to write a shader in Unity that would map this to a sphere, but I wouldn't recommend going that route. What you need is to convert this into something that Unity can use to be put onto a sphere. And I'll show you how to do that in a minute, or I'll show you the basic process of putting it onto the sphere. But first, the conversion happens with the Ricoh Theta. There's actually a little app that you download from their site that you drop this video in, and it gives you another video with a little underscore EQ to mean it's an equirectangularly projected version of that, and that gives you this. You see? And so this, you can kind of picture if you had a globe here and this was made out of something flexible, and you wrapped it around it, right? Here's the bottom, there's the top, and you wrap it around it. Can you ever see how that's a spherical image right there? And there's distortion down here at the top. That all gets fixed pretty much when you map it back to a sphere. That's an equirectangularly projected image. So in order to bring this video, that's a still image. In order to bring, remember that I said a video is just a whole bunch of still images. We've already got one still image here, and that's just a screenshot of the video that's playing. So now I've got this MP4 video that plays at 30 frames per second and looks like that. And it looks kind of confusing to look at it, although when you look at these all day long every day, you start to kind of just get a sense of what's going on in there on their own right. But you really want to see that in VR. So the way you do that is in Unity, you create a sphere centered on 0, 0, 0. And I'll just go through these and I'll show it to you. Then you have to, does anybody know what normal, and this is a little bit of a technical class, so I'm going to tell you about technical things, because you know what, if you're going to do work in VR, you need to know these things, or just give up if you're not willing to learn about normals. There's something called normals on a sphere. Does anyone know what normals are?
It's a line perpendicular to a surface.
Yes, yes it is. And in Unity and in other 3D apps, when you make something like a sphere, and you just make a sphere, you see the sphere there. If you go inside it, it disappears because the sides are only on one side, they're not on the other side. So one thing you can do is if you make a sphere, you can invert its normals, so you have to go inside of it to see it, and now all of a sudden you've got a screen that you can project onto from the inside. There's another way to do it with a shader where you don't invert the normals, you do something called disabled culling, so it renders on both sides. Then you're going to create a material in Unity, you're going to assign a texture to the material, and then you're going to update that texture every frame using that cool plugin called EZMovie Texture that loads the MP4, and there you got your video playing in Unity. And I'll show a little bit. This, again, this didn't exist at 4:30 this afternoon. I just kind of whipped this up. So this, if we look here in Unity, I just took that image and I wrapped it. See, I made a sphere, turned it inside out, and now I'm inside of it. And you can see if I get right here in the center, if I zoom right in, and then I move around, you can see there we're inside of a 360-degree image. You see that? Now, the only difference between this and the full motion video is this is one image. So you'll see all I've got here in Unity, I made a file new project. I did this in 5 minutes. I don't even need that light. I've got a camera up here and a sphere. That's it. File new project, and I made a sphere. And then what I did is I made a material in Unity. You can see it over there on the right. It's a material, and it's a special type of the shader is something called unlit transparent no cull. That's a shader that I made by adding one line to a shader that they give me, so I turn culling off, so you can go inside a sphere and see it. If anyone wants to know how to do that, ask me after. It's not that hard. But EZMovie Texture, actually, the plugin I told you about, comes with this stuff. This is like my own version to show you how it works, but it comes with their own versions of these things. You just have to read the documentation on how to use it. And then what I did is I took that image that I just showed before, this texture right here, and assigned it to the material. And then I put that material on the sphere, and now I've got this. So this is 1/30th of 1 second of 360-degree immersive video. Because right now, I can hit build it, set it to Android, build it for the Gear VR. There's like one other little step you got to do. That's beyond the scope of this right now. And we could be in the Gear VR looking around at this video. In fact, I could even show people after I have this video in my Gear VR. You can see what it actually looks like. So since I found out about this at 4:30, I didn't really have time to like go through and like really break down how you would animate this. But the basic step is this. The basic step is you've got this right here. If I wanted to actually make this into video now, I would go to the asset store, get EZMovie Texture, import the package, and once I imported the package, I read the documentation, and somewhere in there, it would tell you how to load an MP4 video file into EZMovie Texture and how to point it to a texture that it will animate for you when you hit play. That's it. So basically, if you understand this, if you can get to this point of making a new project, putting a sphere in, putting material on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if you just watch this again later, you can figure out how to do that. Then you download EZMovie Texture. Anyone in here could have 360-degree video that they captured on their Theta playing on a Gear VR within an hour or two. It's not that hard. And that really is all there is to it to get basic 360 video going. Any questions?
So if you don't invert the normals,
yeah,
the video is going to map to the outside of the sphere. So if you invert it, you stick it on the inside.
Well, what I did here is I didn't invert the norm. What I did, I'll show you right here, since you asked, and this is good to know. See, in Unity, there's materials, which we discussed. There's textures. There's also one other factor called the shader. And the shader is a bit of code that describes how that texture and material should work together. And what I did is in Unity, check this out, in Unity, when you look at what kind of shaders you have, there's all different kinds of shaders. Texture, transparent setup, shader, I wanted a transparent shader, it was called, but what I did is I downloaded the shade. You can download all these shaders from the Unity website, their shaders, and I added one line to it. See that says cull off? I just added that line, and what that does is that makes it so that you can, here, if I delete that line and I save it, now we go here, when I go inside the shader, shaders are cool. When you edit them, they take effect right away. So now what happens when I go in the sphere? This is what happens if I just use the shader right out of Unity. I go in, oh, it's gone, because I'm inside of it. But if you just go in and you do that one little line there, cull off, now it says, oh, don't erase the faces when you're inside of them. So this is like this is how you set up your video screen. How did I learn that? It took a while to learn it, but now you know it. It's easy. It doesn't take that much effort. So that's how you do that.
Why wouldn't you just put it into the Oculus video player, like your video, and make a Unity app instead?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, you can just take your Theta footage and put it on your SD card and sideload it onto the VR and just watch it in the Oculus Player.
Yeah, if all you want to do is watch your video,
right,
you can do that. There is an Oculus Player that you can just load that video in and watch it, but I'm assuming that people, very soon you're going to want to do other things with it. You're going to want to make your own custom player, so possibly. If you're going to do anything commercial with this, you don't generally want to be showing things in the Oculus Player. Like when we go, as you visit, go out to a trade show, we don't be like, here, look at the Oculus Player in our video.
Right.
Also, once you have video in Unity playing, there's all sorts of amazing things you can do with this. For example, one thing that I'm really interested in, I'm starting to work I make a game called Zone that has, as a big component of it, photographic backgrounds. I'm starting to look at using video as actually the backgrounds for my game. So once you have your video in Unity, now you have the whole world of Unity. So maybe you've got maybe you're recording Times Square out there, and you've got a movie of it, and maybe you Photoshop filter the movie or filter it to look cool. Now all of a sudden you got a platformer game that could be existing inside of panoramic video that's playing live in your game. I mean that's the idea.
So how can I share these? Because that's the issue that I'm having now, right? Somebody across the country, how is he going to see my video, right? Because I have no way, there is no link. I mean, Note VR is kind of the only way, but it's so specific about everything that it's almost not usable. So if I build, let's say, a Unity app with my video in it, can I now, I don't know how it works. Do I
you can
upload
distribute
that to
this.
the Oculus store, and now I can send a link to my friend in LA. Here's my app, download it, and he can watch my video, or no?
There's actually something that you should know about for that. I don't have internet on here. I guess I can get on here real quick. Microsoft Open, right?
Microsoft Open, yes.
Yeah. There's something called SideLoad. Has anyone heard of SideLoad?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, connect. So SideLoad is this system out there whereby if you make something, you can get it out to anyone. You just upload it to this thing called SideLoad. You don't have to go to the Oculus store, and then anyone that has a Gear VR, this is particularly for Gear VR distribution, then this is it, SideLoad VR. It's right here. You just fill out this form. You upload your APK, upload cover image, et cetera, and it will appear on. There's a marketplace on there that some of these things have thousands and thousands of downloads. So yeah, there's.
So it shows up in the Gear VR store?
No, it's a separate app for the Android called SideLoad VR, and if you go on there, there's apps that have tens of thousands of downloads.
I thought you meant side loading, like what people call side loading.
That's why they call it. They kind of call it like that.
Why can't you just send them the APK?
You could, but well, actually no. There's a reason you can't. Especially if you're going to work on the Gear VR, as I recommend you do. There's one factor that's really important to know. If you make a Gear VR app and you build it, you can't just give that to somebody else with a Gear VR. It won't run on their Gear VR because you need to put a special file called an Oculus SIG file that authorizes your Gear VR, and this is what SideLoad bypasses and takes care of.
So I think SideLoad has a limit of 400 megabytes. So if you want to upload a video which is more than 400 megabytes, kind of stuff.
Well, not really what you would do. What you would do in that case is don't put your video actually in the app, but put your video up on S3, and then there's no reason that MP4 has to be loaded off a disk. You could just give a URL to an S3 and stream it. That's a little bit. It's not that hard to do streaming 360.
Right. But I think isn't there a problem with streaming and audio now?
It's not particularly. We do it all the time.
To get the spatial audio because that's what I'm working with. So it's like
There are issues with that. We're dealing with that too. But
Yeah.
this VR, you got to get around them.
Yeah.
So what was what you were saying, putting things inside of this sphere?
Yeah.
I actually tried to do that with the EZMovie Texture.
Yeah.
I couldn't get anything to look
Well, it definitely works because I've used it.
Okay, well, I guess since we're in VR University, like, what could I be doing?
Well, I'm actually gonna do all that live.
All right,
I'll
cool.
literally address your question because it's a very common question. It's because if EZMovie Texture does not work on your Mac, if you just hit play.
No, this is in the Gear VR. So
Oh, in that case, we'll go over that, and then it will work here in front of you.
So if I wanted to throw infographics as another texture within that sphere, it should be possible, right?
Absolutely, that's what we're gonna do
It's
today.
Unity. You can do anything you want in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, more questions.
Any other questions?
That's even better.
Yeah, I think you can only have like one shader, right, to a game object. So I'm like wondering, like right now, I would like to add some opacity on your video. How would I do that? I would need to create a new shader.
Yes, if you want to do that, you can very easily, for instance, one thing you may want to do is you want crossfade from videos to another, so you need alpha blending. You just make an alpha version of this that has an alpha channel and adjust that. You can make an alpha version of this shader very easily. Just look up how to make an alpha shader. I do it all the time. So yeah, that's how you do it. You make a special shader, yeah.
So I only have a Mac. You're saying like I shouldn't be.
It's just Mac is such a pain to develop on for so many reasons. I say put Boot Camp on it and use Windows on it.
Who can't use Windows?
Yeah,
Unity.
for Unity.
Are there any blending modes in shaders?
Yes, absolutely. All of the blending modes
All the blending
are in there.
Multiply,
It's
add,
all there. It's
overlay.
all possible. Just look up shader stuff.
And so it's the EZMovie.
EZMovie Texture. It comes with a bunch of shaders and stuff on its
Right.
own, so I would play with them first, but then know it's all doable.
And EZMovie Texture is only for PC.
Actually, it's cross-platform. In fact, their PC support is only beta, but it works on Android and iOS, which is amazing.
Nice.
So your builds will just work.
I just wanted to point out a couple of caveats before like a download. I literally did this 2 days ago. First of all, the sample video that comes with our demo scene isn't equity.
Oh, bummer.
The first time we played, I was like, oh, this doesn't work.
So you need to get an equity
So
tech.
if you just make sure we replace it with an actual equity video.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, the video is like flipped, it's mirrored, but they have like a mirror sphere, whatever, script.
Yep.
So you have to like apply it to the sphere that's in their demo scene.
There's all these little caveats that come up. Absolutely, deal with them all the time. Anything else?
I'm sorry, did you mention that you could alpha channel video?
Absolutely, because remember what I said in the beginning, video is just a texture, it's just an image. So if you can alpha channel an image, you can alpha channel video. So all the time I'll do that. So for instance, if I want to fade in and fade out, you can make a shader that has an alpha input, and then in the shader, it just applies that alpha input. You give a slider, and then you can drive that slider with a tween or something, and all of a sudden your video is fading in and out, and you could fade them on top. You can have two spheres, fade one out, fade one in, and you could do all sorts of really cool effects.
But say I have actually, I'm doing that on alpha channeling a video where I'm green screening.
Yeah.
The way you're doing it is you're using a series of images inside of movie texture.
Well, I'm not really. I'm using an MP4, which turns into a series of images. That's ultimately all video turns into a series of images. Remember, Unity is all Unity ever is doing is displaying images on the screen one after another. And so that movie is a series of images that's integrated into the overall presentation that Unity shows you.
All right.
So yeah.
Would there be any instances where you would export your MP4 as an image sequence and do your
Yes.
compositing there and then re-import it in as a
It's
movie?
funny you mention that. I've been experimenting with things like that. Like let's say in your scene, you might want to have a character that's there cut out that you green screened. In that case, you could import a series of PNG images with alpha and then just animate that image sequence or load them onto a sprite sheet, especially if you want to just put little alpha channel videos all over your scene. And that's where you get into like interactive 360 video. You could, once you have video here, that's just your environment. What else can you do? You can put little bits of transparent video around and you can use that technique. It's a good one.
We have 52 seconds left
All right.
on the video.
52.
James Andrew from Visit, one of New York's finest VR companies.
Thank you, everyone. And I got some cool stuff to show after. We'll look at it.
Yeah, outstanding member of this community. Thank you. I have something for you.